UFC Noche is this weekend, and although the card isn't that good, and to be honest, it's not very good at all, really, but the main event is one of the best main events on a fight night in ages. I'm so hyped for it. Two of the biggest, I wouldn't even call Diego Lopez a prospect, really. I'm a really good Gene Silva prospect, but two people who've got so much hype around them. Diego Lopez just lost a championship fight to Alexander Volkanovski, one of the greatest featherweights, if not the greatest featherweight of all time. And he's still got all this hype. Don't get me wrong, I think it's wild that he's such a big underdog. He's a bigger underdog for this fight than he was the Alex Volkanovski fight, which I find insane. I understand that Gene Silva has the knockout power, but to me, this is a 50-50 matchup because I think Diego Lopez definitely has the advantage on the ground. His jiu-jitsu is so high level, nearly arm-barring. Movsar Evloev in their fight, and that was years ago when Diego Lopez, I think it was his debut, wearing it on short notice, nearly armbarred. Evloev nearly knee-barred Evloev as well, I'm pretty sure. And he is so good. He comes out so fast, but so does Gene Silva. I cannot wait for this fight. The card isn't that good. Obviously, Rob Font's fighting David Martinez in the co-main event. I think David Martinez has had one fight in the UFC. Don't be wrong, he is obviously Mexican. And you just get all the Mexican fighters on the card, and there isn't that many high-level Mexican fighters, like super high-level ones. You'd think they'd get like a Brandon Moreno in the co-main event. They obviously never, which is a bit disappointing. Or even like a Yair Rodriguez in the co-main event, maybe against like an Evloev, someone like that. But it's weird situation because obviously Rouse versus Jr. was meant to be the co-main event, and still that wouldn't have made it a stacked card. And him dropping out, then obviously Dave Martinez going in against Rob Font. I do think Rob Font absolutely destroys him. There is a pretty high-level women's fight, Tatiana Suarez versus Amanda Lemos, which is a pretty good fight. Obviously, both of them have recently fought for a title, recently getting destroyed by Zhang. But that happens a lot, and I do actually think Zhang's going to beat Valentina Shevchenko. But the card, there's a couple of bangers on there, though. Like, I really do think Diego Ferreira versus Anthony Hernandez is going to be a really good fight. I do think Diego Ferreira is going to win that fight, but everything's just leading towards the main event. Obviously, it is a bit, I don't want to say awkward or like weird, but it's a Mexican card, but no one's going to be watching it from Mexico because they're all just going to be watching Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford. I reckon they might do it to where it finishes, the UFC finishes or starts after the Terence Crawford-Canelo fight or before. So it's kind of like a bit of an intro towards the fights because, don't be wrong, boxing undercards and fights before the main event, they're never usually very good. So the UFC is just so much more fun to watch, in my opinion. Obviously, everyone's so hyped for Terence Crawford versus Canelo, me including. I don't like boxing. I'd much prefer to watch MMA. But I will be watching that fight. I am very hyped for it. But the main event of this card, it's so good. Really good. Obviously, Gene Silva coming off that ninja choke win against Bryce Mitchell is obviously so big tension in that fight. They hated each other. And then putting them to sleep with the ninja choke. What a way to announce yourself. I feel like Gene Silva was already getting to be a big star. Obviously, knocking out Melsik Bagdasarian, beating Drew Dober. But that fight, because everyone was so hyped for it, there was so much publicity into him, MMA gurus doing so much for it, and it just made Gene Silva into this huge star. Obviously, being a fighting nerd, there's been three of them so far, and three of them have lost. Cal Bahayo, obviously, just this weekend, Mauricio Rufy this weekend as well. Prates came back and showed how good he still is, and I imagine Mauricio Rufy and Cal Bahayo will still do the same. Gene Silva, I do think he will win, to be honest. I am really 50-50, but I'm honestly like 51 Gene Silva. People are really overlooking Diego Lopez, but Gene Silva, I just cannot go against him at the moment. Like, he is so good and so high level. And I just think that the striking, it's going to be so wild, and I think it's going to be a Gene Silva first round knockout. I do. I think they're going to come out wild. I think he's so good at landing this left hook backhand. Watch all his fights. He's so good at landing it. It's insane. But he's just so good at getting in and out of range. His movement's amazing, side to side too, not just forwards and back. His head movement's so good. He's obviously kind of like plays with them in the fight, trying to high-five them a bit, and I don't actually think he'll do any of that with Diego Lopez. And because I think I honestly do think this fight will be over in like 2.5 minutes. Don't think it'll go past half of the first round. But Diego Lopez has a good chance. I would like to see Diego Lopez use his grappling. I don't think he will. I think he'll come out and strike. But I'd like to see him use his grappling. His jiu-jitsu is so high level. So high level. And Gene Silva obviously showed in this last fight, he has also got jiu-jitsu. And he's got to be careful when you're shooting in, because he's got them chokes. Obviously, the ninja choke that he put Bryce Mitchell to sleep with. But I couldn't see Diego Lopez getting sub by that. I do think Diego Lopez had beat Bryce Mitchell. Obviously, he had a really close fight with Alex Volkanovski. Obviously, Volkanovski still obviously won, but he did drop Volkanovski at the end. I think it was the second round winning. So Diego Lopez is really good. He gets really hyped up, but I do think Gene Silva is probably going to edge it. I do think it's going to be first round knockout or TKO. I could see Diego Lopez subbing Gene Silva though. That isn't out of the realms of possibility. I can see him subbing Gene Silva. Let me know what you think of that, because I think people are really overlooking Diego Lopez, like I just said, but I think they're overlooking his jiu-jitsu as well. It's so high level. The man's so close to subbing Evloev, who's one of the best fighters, I think. Probably the best fighter in the featherweight division. I do think he'd beat both of these by decision. But if Gene Silva wins this, because obviously if Diego Lopez wins this, I think he has to fight either Yair Rodriguez or Evloev for a second time. But if Gene Silva wins this, I could see them putting Gene Silva in the title shot. Obviously, I do think Lerone Murphy deserves it. I do think he deserves it. Obviously, taking Aaron Pico on 3 weeks' notice and doing that to him. That's why I think he deserves it, but they haven't announced that fight, which to me says they're waiting to see what the result of this fight. If Gene Silva gets a crazy knockout and everyone's so hyped for him, they're going to go Gene Silva, Volkanovski, title shot. I do see Gene Silva knocking out Alex Volkanovski. I don't see Lerone Murphy beating Alex Volkanovski. I think it will be close, but I can see Gene Silva beating Alex Volkanovski, where I don't think Lerone Murphy will. And I think if Gene Silva beats Alex Volkanovski, he can be one of the biggest names in UFC. I think he can be up there with the Ilia Topurias, the Islam Makhachevs. And I think if he beats Alex Volkanovski, then he'll go to like a Tom Aspinall level. Who else? Like a DDP level. And then he can get to the Khamzat Chimaev, the Islam Makhachev and the Ilia Topuria level if he keeps beating the likes of Lerone Murphy, Movsar Evloev. Obviously, he would have beat Diego Lopez and Alex Volkanovski. But I am going to go Gene Silva by knockout in the first round, which pains me to say because I do like Diego Lopez, but I love Gene Silva as well. So I cannot wait to watch this fight. Let me know in the comments who you think's going to win, and I will see you later.